What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Full Throttle Auto. My name is Harris, and today we're gonna figure out if this is worth it for this, or if it's even gonna work. Coming up. What? Somebody's trying to work here. All right, so here we are inside the car, and first off, as you guys can see, the way this was delivered to me, the screws are pointing downwards, and so because of that, technically it would sit something like that, and that doesn't work. If I want this to sit back, these bolts or whatever you want to call them, or nuts, they would sit upwards and the logo would be downwards. So if that matters to you, you're gonna have to switch this up, which shouldn't be too much of a problem. You just obviously have to flip it around. I think that should work. The only problem with that is that right here they're very flat and they have their own groove that they sit in for the screws. I'm pretty sure on the other side they don't, so that might be an issue, but we'll see that. But regardless, I mean, I'd rather have it properly sitting, at least seeing the logo and having at least most of these nuts sitting on the bottom, because this is how it's going to have to sit. Now, I just wanted the blinkers because that's what I'm going to use the most. I didn't really care for the wipers themselves. Now, I am looking here, and it does look like we might have to use the foam that comes with it. There is foam that comes with it that you can put on the inside to get a little bit of better grip here when you tighten this up. Trying to see if there would be, yeah, even if, let's say, that was fully tight, this would move. So you're definitely going to need at least one piece of foam in here. So we'll get that set up as well. But first, let me go ahead and swap these around. Now, of course, if you have the screws out, you can adjust this further in, further out, depending on how much you're going to need. I have a pretty deep dish wheel on here, so I'm going to have it more like this. I might want, I mean, that's going to be like the furthest extension you're going to have. So that's probably where I'm going to have it, just because I have a 75 mil, I believe it is. So we're going to go ahead and get that swapped and set up there. Now, I am, like I said, considering of swapping this over. Let's see if there's a groove on one of these ends. So these don't have the washers or the locking washers, only the actual lever itself does. But from what I can tell, it looks like this will not have a groove that it sits in. So I'm probably going to keep these nuts sitting on top here, just because it looks like that's going to be an issue with how much thread I'm going to have. So it is what it is on that end. I'm not too concerned about that. As long as these face down and the logo is up, then I'm all right with it. This particular set of nuts are 8 mil, so you're going to use a very, very, very little ratchet on these. They shouldn't need too much tightening. There we go. And then you do get two sets of foam. One's fairly thick and one's thinner. For here, since I'm going to have it pretty much right here at the top, I just need a little bit. So I'm going to use the really thin ones, and that should allow me to get enough grip so that way this doesn't move when I actually use it up and down. And just to show you guys, if you guys can actually see the difference here, that's how the difference in thickness the two are. So it's significant, but I think the little one's going to be plenty for me. I left one screw on. I'm just going to put it right in here. Obviously, one side's sticky, one's not. I always screw this up, so I'm almost certainly going to mess it up to get it on there right. Anytime stuff like this where it has to be somewhat precise and looking good, I almost always don't do it good enough. But that'll do. Now the reason I could get away with doing one side, but obviously if I put on both sides, then I don't have to tighten the screws as much, which then will still give me plenty of connection for where I'm tightening it down. Connection? Is that the word I'm looking for? You know, whatever the word is. But that's not too bad. Not too bad. So this would go like this. It's going to be here. Oh yeah, that's going to be plenty. That's going to be on there really good, and it won't even move. That foam makes it really on there, and you can still have access to turning the dial when you have to. So that should be perfect right there. Let's go ahead and get these bolts in to tighten this up. And these are 7mm, so they are slightly smaller than the ones for the actual lever. Is it lever? 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 It's whatever. The only problem I can see here is if you use both, and you should have used only one because you might not have enough threads on these small bolts to actually fit the nut back on to actually tighten it around the gauge itself, or the actual lever itself for the turn signals. Oh yeah, that's on there actually really tight. I won't even have to. But before we tighten it, let's see how. Okay, so that definitely gives it closer. It's still not perfect, but I can get to it. Before I had to definitely reach forward, which then would cause a big problem. But where now I can actually just use this and still have my hand on the wheel, left, right. It's still not all the way over here. It's very possible I could possibly adjust that a little bit more. I'm not sure. Like I said, it looks like I'm on the max hiding here, but it'll work. It'll do the job. Like I said, the only thing I'll have to reach for is to actually turn on the lights, but the actual blinker will not require. Phillips on the bottom. Just simply tighten it up once you have it in the position you like it in. Like I said, I think that's overall really good. And then that one's pretty tight. Still gotta tighten this other one. I tightened it a little bit, but it looks like it does need a little bit more because it did come loose after tightening the other side, the opposite side. And that's, I mean, that is on there. I cannot complain, that is on there. Like, to actually spin it a little bit, you would have to completely change it. Now, it looks like there might be too much pressure on there just because I'm having, looks like a difficult time spinning this. So that actually might be a little bit too much pressure. So I'm gonna undo that just a little bit. Even though that's pretty loose. Like this one here is pretty loose. So I am loosening it up just a little bit, just to give it a little bit of a freedom on the actual dial itself, because it is. So that should be okay. It's not the best, but this isn't actually sitting on it, so it's just from the actual tightness of the dial, but it works. And that is, from what I can tell, just fully out there, so really we can't change that, but that's that works really well. I'm actually really happy with it. Yeah, I mean, that's fairly significant. This is a Eagle Talon TSI, or 1995 Eagle Talon TSI, or even a 1995 GSX. Mitsubishi Eclipse GSX, so it'll be the same thing, and that's pretty good. This is 75 millimeter DND steering wheel, deep dish 75 millimeter that is, with a NRG quick release, and then some hub that I don't recognize. I'm not 100% sure what the actual hub is, but it is fairly long, so this overall sits all the way back. But yeah, it works. I'm actually very, very satisfied with it. It's definitely gonna prevent me from having to do this. That's what I was doing before, and that wasn't fun. So if I don't have to fully take off my hands and do this, I'm okay with that.